Hey, my name is Devin Hudson. I'm the lead pastor of Grace Point Church in the area north of Las Vegas. We are a church that just turned 4 years old. A few weeks ago, a young man was traveling this very road. He was a young man that had addiction problems with alcohol. His relationships had fallen apart. He had never clearly heard the gospel of Jesus Christ and had never stepped foot in an evangelical church in his life. On that particular Saturday, he pulled up to this very stoplight, and a young lady wearing a shirt that said Servolution stepped into the median and handed him a bottle of water that was very similar to this, and handed him a small invite card that looked something like this. What Melvin didn't know was that bottle of water and that card would be tools that would transform his life forever. 2 weeks later, he stepped foot into our church for the very first time, heard the gospel for the very first time, and committed his life to Jesus Christ. A few weeks later, he was baptized. Short time after that, became actively involved in a small group, doing life together with other believers. And a short time after that, became heavily involved in serving his community and understanding what it means to be a missional Jesus follower in the area north of Las Vegas. Rewind with me 5 years ago. When God called me to plant Grace Point Church, I began to think through what does it look like to do ministry in Las Vegas. And part of my struggle was, is Grace Point going to be a church that's primarily attractional? Or are we going to be a church that's primarily incarnational? And it seemed like those two worlds kept colliding in all the discussions that I was reading. And suddenly in an aha moment for me, I discovered that we don't have to be either or, that we can be both and, that we can be both attractional and incarnational. You see, doing ministry in a community that is primarily unchurched, with people that have never heard the gospel of Christ, we knew that we were going to have to get people connected to the gospel. So for us, that meant creating environments where the gospel of Jesus Christ could be heard clearly and where it could be understood with the heart and soul of people. And so that meant getting people into our doors to get butts in the seats. But we also realized that true transformation of a community could not just happen by people coming and hearing the gospel. That true transformation happens when people are transformed and families are transformed and communities are transformed by getting back into the streets. And so it became our goal to bring people in to hear the gospel, not just for the sake of hearing the gospel or for numbers, but for the sake of helping them take steps toward becoming transformed missional followers of Jesus in their community, becoming incarnational. Fast forward with me 1 year. Right before we planted Grace Point Church, I was in Seattle, Washington, sitting in a very dark theater of a guy named Mark Driscoll, and I was listening to the Marlon Brando of missional church planting, a guy named Tim Keller. And in that moment, Keller asked a question that would haunt me forever, an aha moment forever. Keller said to his audience, if your church were removed from its community, would it be missed by anyone outside of the people who attend there? If your church was taken out of its community, would anyone miss it outside of the people who attend there regularly? In that aha moment, I realized that we had to become a church that impacted not only the people that attended Grace Point, but impacted an entire community, impacted people that would never step foot in our door. So it became our goal to be Jesus in our community in a way that would make our community a better place to live. Fast forward with me another year. Grace Point Church had launched. We were beginning to try to do things in our community to connect us to the people who lived here. We were doing the normal things like block parties and gatherings. One night we had this particular block party. It was extremely windy. We brought in a band. The band played. We set up giant movie screens. And when we set up our giant movie screens, the wind picked up and blew down the movie screens and ruined the evening. I left there very discouraged. The very next night, I went back to the same park, and there were about 5,000 people that were gathered there for a city event, the city of North Las Vegas. I realized that the few dozen people that we had tried to impact the night before paled in comparison to the thousands of people that were already there by an organization that were gathering there for a family-centered purpose. I walked away from that evening with an aha moment, walked into a staff meeting and said, we'll not be doing any more block parties, nothing on our own, nothing Grace Point exclusive. We're going to join in with organizations and partner with what they're already doing. They're already doing what we want to do, attract people that we can be Jesus to. So from that moment, we began to work really hard to establish partnerships and relationships in our community. Partnerships that started with us cleaning tables, picking up trash, that evolved into opportunities for us to be Jesus in a way that would make an impact on communities, on families, on individuals, to learn to be Jesus and serve a community without any agenda. I think my aha moments in ministry have been those moments where God has reminded me that if you will be Jesus, if you will live the gospel, then I will bring people into your path which you can talk about Jesus, you can share the gospel. So it doesn't matter if it's a bottle of water or a community event or serving someone or giving someone a cup of coffee. If we can learn to be Jesus, it gives us the opportunity to talk about Jesus. It allows the gospel to transform us individually, to transform families, to transform a church, and hopefully by God's grace to transform a community. And it may start with a simple bottle of water. And that's my aha moment.